Okay, so we're getting started with the stone. You've got a medium-sized stone. We are going to put on, for those of you who are watching as a replay, we're using the stencil and your stencil pencil. So go ahead and get your stone painted. You can choose your background color. I'm choosing black as my background so that I just match the sample here, but I encourage you to change up your background. And anytime you're looking at a pattern and you change the background color or change part of it. So for example, if you did, let's say an orange background, wherever I had orange, I would just substitute the black. So you can just kind of use the colors interchangeably if you want to. It's always good to, I think, make it your own and use the colors that you really like and enjoy. So, all right, we've got our stone and our stencil. The colors that we're using today: black, lavender, purple, dark orange, light orange, and peach. And I've got my tool kit here on the side. And I'm going to use my pink stylus in the peach paint for my center dot. Gotten pretty good at every time I switch colors, I make sure to clean off my tool. If you get a lot of paint stuck on there, it's going to change the shape. And so like on this one, you can see it's a little dirty. A great way to get off the paint that's stuck on there is just to get a plastic baggie and some rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. Soak these in there for a minute or two, and then you can just wipe them right off with a paper towel and they'll come clean. That's a great way to clean them. All right, so we've got our center dot, and the next thing I'm going to do is use my purple stick. And we are going to go with the light orange. And you can just pick a line to start with, but I am going to do every other line. And this, you're going to kind of want to line up in between the first dash and the center. And so these are going to end up fairly close. So I'm going to skip a space. We're going to end up with 8 of these. So on every other line. Messed up my spacing just a little bit. I'll tell you what, it's that kind of day. I get ahead of myself sometimes. But you ever just get frustrated and want to start from square one? I'm going to do these. I'm going to do my oranges again. I was confident today. I've been dotting like crazy because I was invited to set up and sell in a Michael's in a couple weeks. And so I've been making stones like a mad woman. And I'm like, okay, I got this. And then of course I mess up on the first couple steps today. It happens. All right, let me try this again. The key is, and where I messed up, is I tried to go too close to the center, and so they got a little smushy. Even this one is a little misshapen, but I think the pattern will even out for me as we work our way out. All right, and then the next step, so we've got our orange circles. The next step is going to be the purple circles. And I'm going to do those in between each orange all the way around. And just for the sake of the camera, I'm going to lighten my purple just a little bit because sometimes the camera does not pick up on the colors when they're too close. All right, so in between purple stick, in between each orange. You will end up with 8 of those. Next, I'm going to use my blue stylus. I'm going to use the large end, excuse me, and the peach paint. And we're going to do 2 dots in between each of the purple. So I'm not going to reload between 1 and 2, but I am going to reload in between each dot. So I'm going to go 1, 2, more paint, 1, 2, more paint, all the way around. Then I'm going to do the next row back with the purple stylus. And we're going to alternate, we're on this row right here, we're going to alternate the orange and the dark purple. The light orange, dark purple. And so the light orange is going to go next to the purple dots. And so I'm going to do a set of 8 of those all the way around. And on my screen, it looks pretty yellow. I think sometimes it's just the lighting in here. Yeah, no matter what I do, that's going to look yellow. So if it looks yellow, that's my light orange. And then the next color is the dark purple. And that just goes in between. So it's next to the line with the 2 single dots, the 2 little dots in between each orange goes a purple. I am gonna stick with my purple stick and we're gonna dip into the dark orange. A little too much paint on there. All right. Dip into the dark orange and I'm gonna put one dark orange dot outside of the purple. And so all the way around, you'll end up with 8 of those. And then I'm going to use my green stylus, the large end, and dip into the peach. We're going to add one small peach dot. Now this one, because it's smaller, I want it to be right next to my orange. So I'm going to go up a little bit. My dark orange was pretty much on that line. I'm going to go up a little bit so I'm before the line. And I'm going to place the dot close to the light orange. And I'm going to switch to my blue stick. Back to light orange. And I'm going to put a light orange dot after the dark orange. So it's going to go purple, dark orange, light orange. And if you are close to the side of your stone, like my stone's starting to curve, just make sure you got plenty of paint on the stick. And try to keep that stick at an angle. This one I did a little closer than the others, so I'm just going to redo that one. Some days you got the skills and other days you're just fixing it over and over. Okay. One more time. I'm going to go back to my green stylus, the large end, and on my peach, or in my peach, and we're going to add 3 dots after the orange dot. So this is kind of like a crown at the end. And the way that I do sets of 3 when I want it in that triangle pattern is I do the center first, because that helps me figure out the placement of the other 2. So I'm going to leave a little room and I'm going to put my center dot and then go back and I can do my right and left. Just make sure that you redip every time. And as you're working, I'm going to move my Lazy Susan out of the way. As you're working on the sides, just be careful that you don't put your fingers in your previous dots. That's the hardest part when you start getting your design going. So yeah, I put my finger right there. So that's something I'll paint over when I'm finished. But for now, I'm just going to keep going. All right, we're going to do a giant dot. So I'm going to get my pink stick. We're going to use our light purple. And towards the end of our color palettes, these get really goopy. I've got some paint boogers in here. Let me get those out of the way. All right, so pink stick, light purple. And we're going to put a giant dot after the tiny peach dot. And sometimes, especially if you're following another person or a pattern, our spacing can be a little different. That's perfectly okay. Just make sure that what you do in one place, you do the same all the way around. As long as you keep your design symmetrical, it'll be a beautiful stone. Sometimes, even if you're trying to replicate a design, things end up just a little different, just depending on how we hold our tools and space our design out. So we've got our light purple dots all the way around. We've got 8 of those. I'm going to pick up my purple stylus and dark purple paint. And I'm going to add a large purple dot right at the edge of my lavender. And those go all the way around. There's 8 of those. Next, we are going to walk the dots. And so I'm going to use my green stylus, the large end. And when you walk the dots, if you have your instruction sheet, if you want to practice first before you do it, you can do that. But when we walk the dots, this is where we do not redo our dipping. So for every dot, we dot and dip, dot and dip. So when we walk the dots, we don't re-dip. So you continuously make dots and they will get smaller. All right, so if you want to practice a few of those, and we are going to curve around the circle. One of the biggest mistakes that I make when I walk the dots is I don't lift my stylus enough. And sometimes I get that little connection between the two. And so that's what I have to try to avoid. But we're going to walk the dots with our green stylus and dark purple paint. This is going to be our end dot. And so I'm going to dip in there, and then I'm going to walk the dots around the circle. And I'm going to end up with 5. Do whatever you're comfortable with, but just try to get even spacing on both sides. If you do 5 on one side, do 5 on the other. If you can fit 6, go ahead and do 6. Again, it's going to depend on your spacing and your comfort level, but we're going to walk the dots around each of these large lavender dots. Next, I'm going to get my blue stylus and I'm going to use the large end. And this is kind of an afterthought in my design. Normally I would work from the inside on my way out, but I wanted to add just a little bit in here because I had some spacing. So what we're doing is adding these little lavender dots. And so in between each orange I'm just going to add a dot of lavender. And then everything beyond this step is top dots. And so I always want to encourage you to do whatever you like with the top dots, because that adds a little bit of your own personality to what we're doing and makes it yours. So for the top dots, what I did here in the center, I did a lavender and then a purple. I think I'm going to shake it up because I don't want two of the same stones. So I'm going to change my top dots. I'm going to do some black in there for some of these top dots, just to be different. But this is where you can kind of, you can follow the pattern. I've got the top dots listed on the instruction sheet, but you can also just kind of do your own thing. Top dots are easier because you've already got the placement figured out. You just are kind of layering up the colors. So don't be afraid to shake it up. Oops. And of course, when you're doing top dots, you want to make sure that there's a filmy layer over. It doesn't have to be completely dry, but you do want there to be some dryness over the top of the previous color. All right, so you can see just by changing the top dots, very different appearance. So on this one, I did two sets of top dots. I did a lighter version of the color and then the background color. So I've got purple, lavender, purple on some of these. I repeated that over here. It kind of gives it almost a bullseye kind of look. Over here, I just did a single top dot with the black and very different look. This pattern is a little more stretched out. This one's a little tighter. So you can see just by slight variations, the rocks still look pretty different. And that is the Color Carnival Advanced Artistry. I can't wait to see your versions. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording, but make sure you post your pictures in the group. I cannot wait to see those. And I've got the boxes were all sent out. They were dropped off today. No mail runs today, so I'm sure that they will start shipping actually tomorrow, but you should get those very soon for June. And I will see you the second week of June. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone.
Bye.